All right, so today we are going to start talking about the quadratic formula, which you have probably seen before. Could be a little bit review. If not, you will always have access to this formula here, which is what we will be using to substitute things in. We need to recall that when we are doing these, we are going to be having everything is in standard form. This is another way to use a quadratic formula. Instead of always having to factor or things that might be too difficult to factor, the quadratic formula is another way that we can always find our roots or where they touch the x-axis. So we always need to make sure that it's in standard form, and then we're going to be looking for our a value, our b value, and our c value. And then we're going to substitute those in, remembering what a, b, and c is, and then we're going to substitute them into our quadratic formula. So we're always going to remember that x is going to be equal to the opposite of b plus or minus the square root. And then we're going to do b squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. Another quick thing to remember that when it's called the discriminant. You don't really need to remember that right now, but that b squared minus 4ac, this part that is underneath the square root. We've talked about simplifying square roots so that if there is a positive number on there, we're going to get our two answers. If that is a negative number, then we're actually just going to stop. When it's a negative number, we're going to have no real roots. We won't worry about simplifying that. And then if there's a zero, we'll have one real root. So we'll go through some of those examples. So for this first example, I'm going to try to keep that quadratic formula there up at the top so you can see it. Remember, if there's no number in front, it is 1v squared plus 2v minus 8. So I think it would be important to remember that we're going to label what our a value is, what our b value is, and what our c value is. Our a value is our 1. And then our b value is the second number there, which is a 2. And then our c value is negative 8. And then we're going to just substitute all of that in to what we see at the top in the quadratic formula. So x, in this case it's v, but it's the same thing. V equals negative b, so negative and then 2. We'll do plus minus the square root. Next part is b squared, so we're going to write 2 squared minus 4, and then we're multiplying 4 by the numbers a and c, so we're multiplying it by 1 and negative 8. Then we have a big divided by sign there. We're going to divide that by 2 times our a value, which is 1. So as a reminder, I'm taking all of this from up top here, our quadratic formula, and substituting it in. So now this is where we need to remember our order of operations and be very, very careful. So v is equal to negative 2 plus or minus. We have 2 squared is 4. And then we're going to do minus. 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times negative 8 is negative 32. So we're doing a minus negative 32. And remember, when it's minus and negative, it's really changing them both to plus. And then we're going to divide all of that by 2. Now the first thing we have to simplify now is our square root. So we need to simplify that 4 plus 32. So that 4 plus 32 is going to change to 36. So it really equals negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 36 divided by 2. Now if you remember that pink book that we had of all of our square roots, we know the square root of 36. The square root of 36 is actually just going to change to the number 6. So that really equals negative 2 plus or minus 6 divided by 2. And then we can do this because we know that it's negative 2 plus 6 divided by 2 and negative 2 minus 6 divided by 2. So our first one, negative 2 plus 6, is going to be 4 divided by 2, which is 2. And our second one is going to be negative 8 divided by 2, which is negative 4. So for number 1, v is going to equal 2 and negative 4. At this time, I would encourage you to pause the video and take a moment to solve number 2. So for number 2, we need to remember that it's A is 1, B is 5, and C is negative 6. We need to substitute this into our formula. Opposite of B plus or minus the square root. B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. Substitute in the numbers that we have. Negative B is negative 5. B squared is going to be 5 squared minus the number 4, and then we go back, we multiply by A and C, which is 1 and negative 6. Divide all of that by 2 times 1. Simplify inside our square root now. It's negative 5. We have plus or minus. 5 squared is 25. We have a negative 4 and a negative 6, which means it's going to be plus 24. Divide all of that by 2. We can then simplify 25 and 24. (25) plus 24 is 49. Again, recalling our sheet here, the square root of 49 is on our sheet. The square root of 49 is just 7. So it's going to be negative 5 plus or minus 7 divided by 2. And then we can finalize our answers to negative 5 plus 7 divided by 2 and negative 5 minus 7 divided by 2. Which is 2 over 2 and negative 12 over 2. So for number 2, we would get K answers of 1 and negative 6. At this time, I would like you to stop this video and complete number 3. When you're done, check your answers online before you move on to the next video.